You move on to the next one. Get the next game going. Get the next game going. For every one you lose, you win 3 or 4. You're fine. You're gonna
Yeah.
go. Well, you're gonna go 10-3 or 10-4. It's how it's gonna work. And then when LeBron gets back, which we can kind of pivot into that, like that once LeBron gets back, um, that should help tremendously because very likely LeBron will be back around those Bulls games.
Yeah.
LeBron, the boots off. He's on track according to Darvin Ham. Everything's going according to plan. Everything's going according to schedule. So let's say he comes back for that second Bulls game, then that's huge. We might not lose a game. I mean, we're 3-0 with this team fully healthy.
Yeah.
Right. If we get LeBron back, that last, let's say we get him back on the second Bulls game. You have the second Bulls game, you have the Timberwolves game, you have like 2 games against the Jazz, the Clippers, and the Suns.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think I'm missing a game, but anyway, you got like the last 6 or 7 games, whatever it is. And realistically, we could go 7-0 in that stretch. Like it's not unrealistic to think like when LeBron gets back, everyone kind of balances better. I don't think it's a coincidence that Malik Beasley, his best game was when LeBron and D'Lo were playing. He had those nice stretches of games where he was shooting great because you have LeBron James and D'Lo that are both able to set him up and both are able to just draw defenders and stuff, so they can't glue a guy to Beasley the way that they have been. Although the Knicks did kind of just let Beasley shoot a little more. He's got to knock those down
too. Yeah, and I was like, this is your night. They're letting you have it. Just knock them down. But as a shooter goes, they're not going to be able to knock them down every single night. So what you're saying essentially, if we win those 1, 2, 3, 4, so if we win those 6 games after LeBron comes back, let's say he comes back March 29th, so the end of the month, which is like the last Bulls game, the second Bulls game.
Yeah.
So essentially, what we have to do before then is at least win 2 or 3. And if we could obviously lock in when LeBron comes back, win those 6, but before he comes back, we have to win 2 or 3 to get us in a decent spot. And those teams that are tied with us, and hopefully they can lose a few games too. So really, if we could just win 2 more before LeBron comes back, we'll be.
That's what I'm saying. So say we go. Okay, say our last 7 games, LeBron comes back. Let's say we don't go 7-0. Let's say we go 6-1.
Okay.
Again, you got Utah twice, who we should beat, especially towards the end of the season. They're probably going to be playing for draft position at that point. So those 2 teams, right? You have that second Bulls game. You got the
Timberwolves right after
the Minnesota game.
Yeah.
You have the Suns. You have the Clippers. And there's another game I'm missing. What's the other game?
The Rockets.
The Rockets. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you're beating Utah twice. You're beating the Rockets once. You're probably winning that Bulls game. And so there's 4 out of those 7. The Suns probably rest everybody. I know a lot of people think they won't rest people against the Lakers, but if they're already locked into a playoff spot, KD's already hurt. They're not going to risk.
I was going to say, not to mention,
they're not going to risk getting KD, Chris Paul, or Devin Booker hurt. They're not, because they know their playoff series is done. So they'll probably sit at least those 3. So there's 5 wins right there, and then you have the Clippers and the Timberwolves game. You win one of those 2 games, there's your 6th game, right?
Which more than likely, I feel like it's going to be the Timberwolves game.
Okay, so then you beat the Timberwolves, right? There's your 6 games, right?
Yeah.
So those 6 games, if you win those, and if the Clippers lock up, right, because they're starting to win again. If they get the 5th seed locked up, they might not even play guys. They might just rest Chris Paul and they're not Chris Paul, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They might just sit those guys. So you could go 7-0, but let's say we go 6-1. That means over the other 7 games, you only got to win 3 or 4. And so out of these next 7 games, as long as you go 3-4 or 4-3, preferably you win those that Mavs, the Pelicans, and the Thunder game. You win those 3, and then you win one of the other games. You're fine. You're good. Now, I think they'll win more than that, but as long as you win those games, those 3 games, and then you just get a random win, and then you do go like 6-1 with LeBron,
Yeah.
then there you go. You're probably the 6th seed. At worst, you're probably the 7th seed, which is realistically where they're probably going to fall into, that 7th or 8th seed, probably where they're going to be at, right? And so I think that no matter what, however you slice, I think the Lakers will be fine. Yeah. Even if we lose a couple games before LeBron. Yeah, we're not. We'll at least be a play-in team.
Sorry, play-in. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, well, at the very worst, we'll be a play-in team. But I don't want to get that 9th, 10th seed. Just because if you get that 9th, 10th seed, it makes things so difficult.
Yeah.
So difficult, right? Because
you have to beat two teams before. Yeah, you got to beat 2 teams before you can even get into the playoffs. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
And if any of those teams, like let's say we are the 10th seed or the 9th seed, right? And let's say we play the Pelicans in the first game, right? If the Pelicans just shoot the lights out and there's just nothing you can do, like it's a Portland game, you're in trouble, right? So then, but let's say you do beat the Pelicans. Now you're going and playing like Dallas or, the Jazz or something like that, whomever. Again, like if they just shoot the lights out, there's nothing you could do. You lose. Where at least if you're in that 7th, 8th spot, you only gotta win. You have 2 to win 1. You have 2 chances to just win 1 game. Just don't go 0-2, and you're fine, right? Yeah. And so if you do that and you win those and you win 1 game, now you're in. Now you're, if you win that first game, you're the 7th seed. If you win that second game, you're the 8th seed. You're playing either the Kings, the Memphis Grizzlies, or you're playing the Denver Nuggets, which all 3 of those teams I think we can beat. But if you're the 9th or 10th seed, you're playing 2 games and then immediately on like no rest, like a day's rest, going into a matchup against the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
That's rough. Now, yes, maybe that momentum and not having that time off and stuff, maybe that would help. You can make that argument like, if we're clicking, we just won those 2 games. We're feeling good. We're in the playoffs. Maybe you kind of ride that momentum, but it's just a lot of extra games to now have to get through just to reach where you could be. Where at least if you're the 7th, 8th seed, you get an extra day. You get, especially if you win that first game, now you got like 2 days rest. So, you get your little, walkthrough done. You watch some tape on your matchup because you already know who you're playing. So now you get the matchup, you get, a day or 2 to kind of like make your adjustments, do what you need to do for game 1. And now you're off to the races. Yeah. So again, but I mean, everything that we've seen from the Lakers say that they'll win more than they're going to lose right now. I mean, since
with the new roster.
Since starting 2-10, we have like the 3rd or 4th best record in the West, and we have like the 8th best record in the league. It's just that 2-10 start. We were so far behind the 8 ball that we had to play catch up the whole time. Yeah. And that's what made things difficult. Is that we just and a lot of that was with the old team, which isn't as good as this team.